today's most eminent
आवाज
in
आवाज पूरा है।
the field of मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ आ रही डॉक्टर साहब।
So first of all, I would like to welcome most eminent personality in the field of veterinary sciences and the global speaker, the member of Agriculture Scientist Recruitment Board, Professor A.K. Srivastava sir, on the occasion of 20th World Milk Day, jointly organized by Nanaji Deshmukh Veterinary Science Vishwavidyalaya, the Association of Mastitis. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks also to Professor A.K. Srivastava sir, who has spared very valuable time to speak on the Milk Day. Sir, here I would like to mention, everybody knows that first of all, World Milk Day was established by Food Agricultural Organization of United States 20 years ago. And since then, it is celebrated every year on 1st June to recognize the importance of milk as a global food. Now, once again, I would like to welcome and I would like to extend my wholehearted thanks that you have spared time to join us, and we will be very much benefited with your valuable speech. So, sir, thank you very much, and once again, welcome you in this occasion and in this webinar session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Should I start now?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
May I request our Dean, sir, and the Senate Organizing Committee to introduce our guest speaker, please? Dr. Mehta, sir.
Yes,
Can you
thank you, Dr. Sharda. I welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. S.P. Tiwari, as Chief Patron of the University. It is because of his inspirations and continuous support that we are organizing this webinar, in which we will have an opportunity to listen a very learned person and a very good orator, Dr. A.K. Srivastava. I welcome Dr. A.K. Srivastava, member ASRB ICAR Government of India. Dr. A.K. Srivastava is well known to all of us and needs no introduction. But he is having such a nice biodata that everybody will be interested to know that. Very few persons achieve such a high standard of professional achievement in their life. So I will just give a brief introduction to Dr. A.K. Srivastava. Sir. Professor Dr. Anil Kumar Srivastava did his BVSC 79 and MVSC in 81 from Veterinary College, Mathura. And his postdoctorate, he did PhD from PAU, Ludhiana, and postdoctorate from GSF Institute of Toxicology, Munchen, Germany. He served veterinary science he started his career as assistant professor in 84. Associate Professor 87 to 95, College of Veterinary Science, Punjab Agricultural University, Ludhiana. German Academic Exchange Fellowship 88 to 90, he did his PhD. Professor started in 95 to 2004. He remained head of the Division of Pharmacology and Toxicology from 97 to 2004. In Faculty of Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry and Director, Resident Instructions come Dean, Postgraduate Studies, Sher-e-Kashmir University of Agricultural Science and Technology, RS Surat, Jammu. Subsequently, he joined National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal in 2008 as a director and vice chancellor and served for 9 years till 2017. From NDRI, he moved to Delhi and joined the Agricultural Scientist Recruitment ASRB as a member of the board. In between, he also served as ASRB as chairman. Professor Srivastava is an eminent scientist in the area of veterinary science, pharmacology, and dairy science. He has published over 200 articles and over 10 books and research bulletins. During his tenure as director and vice chancellor, At the NDRI, he gave dynamic leadership to NDRI, has developed a team of assisted reproductive technologies, ART, who has produced first cloned buffalo calf, Garima, and many more such cows. He has done genetic improvement of cattle and buffaloes through the ART. Ovam take up IVF, stem cell technology, and cloning. About 40 technologies were developed by him during that period, and about 15 patents were granted during his leadership. He has given new direction to academic and research of NDRI and developed many courses for students. He was dedicated to farmers' welfare and started dairy courses and training program to the farm doorstep. Professor Srivastava is recipient of many awards and honors. DSC, ICR Jawaharlal Nehru Award 1985, International NOICL Award 1985, Indian Veterinary Association National Larsen Awards 87, 88, and 99, 2000, ISCA Gold Medal 99, Gold Medal Indian Association of Science and Technology 2009, Dr. B.D. Garg Outstanding Pharmacologist Award 2018, 24th Devang Mehta National Education Award 2016, National Education Award 16, Bhumi Nirman Award 2009, Prabudh Manishi Award 2017, Editorial Excellence Award 2017, Chelappa Memorial Oration Award 2011. She has been awarded Oration Award from 8 institutions. He has also got 4 lifetime achievements. These are Clef Lifetime Achievement Award 2012, then Lifetime Achievement Award of Indian Society for Buffalo Development, Lifetime Achievement Award of Indian Society for Study of Reproduction and Fertility, Lifetime Achievement Award of Society for Community Mobilization for Sustainable Development. He remained President of Indian Agricultural University Association, Patron of Indian Dairy Association, Chairman of Indian Dairy Association, President of National Academy of Dairy Science, President of Probiotic Association of India, President of Indian Society of Veterinary Pharmacology and Toxicology, President of Arthritis Association, Vice President of Project Management Association of India, Founder, Chief Editor, Journal of Veterinary Pharmacology and Toxicology, Member of Executive Council, Punjab Academy of Science, Member of J&K Council of Science and Technology, Indian National Committee, International Dairy Federation, Processing Industries R&D Committee, Chairman Dairy Production Equipment Sectional Committees, BIS, Government of India FAD 19, Member of Scientific Advisory Committee ICMR, Member of Techno Scrutiny Committee, Ministry of FPI, Government of India, Member DBT Task Force on Biotechnological Approaches for Food and Nutrition, and Chairman DBT Task Force on Animal Biotechnology. Apart from these so many achievements, he has got fellowships of so many associations. Professor Srivastava is fellow of many academics and societies. He is fellow of National Academy of Veterinary Sciences, fellow of National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, member of National Academy of Sciences. Currently, he is Vice President of NAS. Also served NAS as Secretary from 2009 to 11. National Academy of Dairy Sciences, Indian Society of Veterinary Pharmacology and Toxicology, Indian Association of Advancement of Veterinary Research, Society of Toxicology, Society of Environmental Sciences, Society of Sciences, International Society for Ecological Communication, International Society for NONI, Bio-Based Research Society, Range Management Society of India. So these are the achievements of Honorable Dr. A.K. Srivastava, and we are very much privileged that we shall listen lecture from such eminent scientists today. So I welcome Dr. Srivastava again, and I request to start his presentation today. Please, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Thank you. You kindly make your this enable. The screen sharing you make enable. स्क्रीन शेयरिंग अभी भी डिसेबल्ड है डॉक्टर मेहता.
Yes, sir. Now it is enabled, sir.
Dr.
Now it is
Ranjit,
enabled, sir.
yes.
Enable, sir.
Oh yes. Okay, well friends, very good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, my heartiest congratulations and best wishes, compliments, appreciation to each and everyone for World Veterinary Day. Today we are celebrating World Veterinary Day, and I remember that it was 2008, 1st June, when we celebrated first time World Milk Day at National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal. And that was the time that whole country, from that time, whole country has started celebrating. So heartiest congratulations to each and everyone. I'm thankful to Dr. S.P. Tiwari, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, for providing me this opportunity. Here I would like to inform that in the morning, I was having Dr. Varghese Kurian Memorial oration at National Dairy Research Institute through webinar on the same topic. So my friends, Dr. A.C. Barsne, I can see that he was in the morning session also, and in this session also, Dr. A.M. Thakur, Ashwin Thakur, who is president of the ISBPT. Many more participants might have participated in the morning session also. So friends, that is very interesting and very important topic, and I have prepared the presentation in such a way that it is useful for the students and it is also useful for the policy makers also. So thanks to Dr. Nayak, Dr. Mehta, Dr. Rajesh Sharma, and Dr. Nilesh, who is Secretary of the Society of Association of the Mastitis, Dr. Nayak, who called me first time to deliver the lecture. Since timing was not matching, I was very reluctant, but ultimately I also thought that no, it will be good that I will have good interaction with you people. So thank you very much, Dr. Tiwari, Dr. Mehta, Dr. Nayak, Dr. Nilesh, for giving me this opportunity to talk on World Milk Day. I will be talking on saga of artificial insemination in Indian dairy. I'm sure that it is loud. I'm laudable and it is clearly understood by each and everyone. Friends, if we see the latest livestock census, which was released by Government of India on 16th October 2019, then at present we are having cattle population around 193 million, buffalo population around 110 million, which is slightly higher than the previous 2012 census. But goat and sheep population has jumped. Goat population has jumped from 135 to 148, and sheep population from 65 to 74 million. So this was the latest livestock census. 4 or 5 important points in this livestock census we observed that there was significant increase in total crossbred animal, significant increase in indigenous male cattle, and significant increase in total milch animals. So that was good point that crossbred animal has increased, total female cattle has increased of indigenous animal, and total animal in milk has increased. There was 39% increase in crossbred. There was 10% increase in indigenous female cattle, and there was 6% increase in total milch animal. Total indigenous cattle population, however, it was decreased as compared to 2012. And we all know that India is the only country which is having 43 registered cattle and 15 registered buffalo breeds, and it has been selected over more than 1,000 year. So this was the latest livestock census which we witnessed in October 2016. The major contributor of livestock production and productivity, we all say that India is at number 1 in the world in milk production. We are producing 180 million ton of the milk. Major contributor for livestock improvement in production, that is the artificial insemination. So we can say that if any technology which has played major role in the enhancement of the genetics, no doubt it is the artificial insemination. People adopted, farmers adopted artificial insemination because of 4-5 reasons. I will request that everyone should keep mute. The 4-5 reasons behind the adoption of the artificial insemination. First, It avoids the maintenance of the bull, so there is no problem of maintaining of the bull. We are not maintaining the bull. Enhancement of the genetics is visible because we can see the enhancement in the productivity. Through AI, we can also prevent the sexually transmitted diseases which normally occur when there is a natural mating. And then there is a big scope for organized breeding, big scope for record keeping, and big scope for closed herd. So these are the advantages which help the farmer to adopt AI. Through AI, we also developed several crossbred. As we know that we developed at NDRI current Swiss current Frise. In addition to that, Friswal, Sunandini, Phule, Triveni, and Brindavani cattle were developed, which were crossbred. Currently, globally, if we see 80% of the total cattle population are being bred through artificial insemination. In 2-3 slides, I will just go through milestone or historical development of the AI in cryopreservation of the semen. It was 1678 when first time spermatozoa was seen and it was described. Then in 1770, first time AI was applied in human being in London. So general feeling that AI came from animals to human is not correct. Actually, it came from human to animal. First time it was standardized, it was documented, it was applied in human. In 1784, the first time artificial insemination was done in dog, and in 1897, it was reported in rabbit and horse. Then in 1899, we developed the methods and protocol for artificial insemination, which was developed in Russia. Then it was 1907, first time it was demonstrated in farm animals. It was the 1933, then first dairy cooperative AI organization was organized. So we can see that first AI spermatozoa was developed in 1678, but clinically application came in the dairy in 1933. So it was around 250 years which this AI travels for its clinical application. In India, we see first time in India, AI was done at Mysore Palace Dairy Farm by National Dairy Research Institute, Bangalore, which was at that time Imperial Dairy Research Institute. And the scientist involved in first AI in India was Dr. Sampath Kumaran from National Dairy Research Institute. He used Houston Friesian semen in cow, and he got the pregnancy also. Later on in 1942, we all know Dr. P. Bhattacharya. He took the AI and then 4 centers, Kolkata, Bombay, Patna, and Bangalore were established where AI was done. In Buffalo, the first buffalo calf through AI was produced in 1943 in Allahabad Agriculture University, which is now in the Naini. And in US, you will be surprised to know that AI was not practiced till 1942. But by the end of 1945, AI was extended in whole US. So India started doing AI before US, but still we are having 29 to 30% coverage, and US has gone more than 80 to 85% coverage. Few other historical aspects if we see. Egg yolk phosphate diluter, it was developed in 1940, and in the same year we also developed the methods for refrigeration of the semen, that is the refrigerated storage of the semen. Then in 1941, egg yolk diluter, it was improved with the citrate, and then in 1949, cryopreservative effect of glycerol in semen freezing was developed. This were the historical aspect. In India, we see at present 3 agencies: State Animal Husbandry Department, Dairy Cooperative, and NGOs. They are engaged in artificial insemination. The share of State Animal Husbandry Department is 45.7%, Dairy Cooperative 24.3%, and other agencies 30%, 29.9%. Why I am emphasizing that when we go for improvement of the AI, when we go for enhancing the coverage of the AI or to enhancing the success of the AI, then other agencies, NGOs cannot be ignored because they capture around 30% of the total AI done in India. In India, as we see the artificial insemination infrastructure, it is a huge infrastructure which India is having. Either it is a State Livestock Development Board, it is 28, veterinary hospital, veterinary dispensaries, veterinary aid center, different breeding farms of cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, pigs. Then cement production center, we are having 56 cement production center, and then frozen cement bank 226, liquid nitrogen plant 92, and then AI center 99,000, around 1 lakh AI center we are having. I calculated that in AI center, each AI center is catering only 681 insemination. So it is only 1.86 insemination per day. I want to emphasize that having only infrastructure is not sufficient, but to bring in full functionality is more important. One AI center is doing 1.86 insemination per day. I think we have to still travel a long distance. Well, this is the current status of insemination in India. In 2001 and 2002, if you see, it is only 19.8 million insemination which was being done. But in 2017 and 18, it is 75.6 million. So today we are having insemination to the tune of 75.6 million all over the country. State-wise, if we see, it ranges from less than 10% to more than 75%. I will request Dr. Nidhi Gupta, if Dr. Nidhi Gupta, kindly keep your photographs constant, kindly keep your camera constant, it is disturbing. Dr. Nidhi Gupta, keep yourself constant, yeah. Less than 10% if you see, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Sikkim, these are the states where extent of AI is less than 10%. However, between 10 to 20%, it is the Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Rajasthan. Between 10 to 20%. Maharashtra, Odisha, Telangana, Tripura, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand ranges from 20 to 30%. Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, J&K and West Bengal 30 to 40%. Goa and Gujarat between up to 40%. Haryana, Karnataka, Punjab, which we consider as a developed state in terms of dairy, that go up to 60%. And Tamil Nadu and Kerala are the state where it is more than 75%. So we can call that these two states are very much developed as far as AI is concerned. Overall, AI coverage in 2017 and 18 was 29.7%, that is 30% around. That is, means demerit with our AI system, that is still only 30%. Conception rate is 35%. However, in the developed nation, it is up to 72 to 80%. So it is long journey which we have to travel, either in terms of enhancing the coverage or in terms of enhancing the success rate of AI. Friends, it is artificial insemination which enhance the milk production. We say that India is number one in the milk production in the world, and that is the 187.7 million ton of the milk we produced in 2018 and 17. If we see the data of 2050 and 51, it was only 17 million ton, which has raised to 187 million ton. We are producing around 20% of the total world milk. Per capita availability of the milk in India is touching 400 gram per person per day. Today it is 394 gram. However, Medical Council of India says that Indians should consume 280 gram milk per day. The growth rate of Indian dairy sector is 6.5%. If we see the world average per capita availability, then it is very low. It is 229 gram per person per day. It includes all the underdeveloped countries also. That's why, otherwise developed nation, they are having very high per capita availability. In India also, it is 394. But if you see Punjab and Haryana, it is touching a liter or even more than a liter per person per day. If we go in the northeast and West Bengal, it is very low. So this is the status of milk production in the country. We are at number one in the world in milk production by producing 187.7 million ton of the milk. Friends, I tried. When we say that artificial insemination, there is a positive correlation between artificial insemination and milk production. For example, in 2017 and 18, the milk production was 176.4 million ton, and the AI was 75.6 million. So it is from 1990 to 91. As AI is increasing, the milk production in million ton is also increasing. AI with cryopreserved semen is the technology that matters for enhancing the milk production. In nutshell, it is the AI which brought wide revolution in this country. When we say that India is at number one in the milk production, many people, especially Western people, they say that India is holding the largest livestock population. That's why it is highest milk producing country. But it is not correct. I have tried to clear it in three graphs. Cattle population, if we see in 1951, the cattle population was 155.3 million, which has increased to 192 million in 2019. So there was 24% increase. Similarly, in buffalo, there was 153% increase. Buffalo population increased from 43.4 to 109 million. But the milk production, which was only 17 million ton in 1950-51, has gone up to 187.7 million. So there was 1,106% enhancement in milk production. This enhancement in milk production cannot be number driven, it is the technology driven. So I always say that it is a technology driven enhancement in milk production, and in this technology, AI has played the major role. The outcome of the milk in India, if we calculate in terms of rupees, that is the 654,000 crore rupees, and it is more than the value which we get through rice, wheat, and sugarcane. So the outcome is more than the sum of wheat, rice, and sugarcane, and it is a technology driven. And in this technology, AI has played the major role. Then coming to the genetic improvement. Coming to the genetic improvement, I'm sorry that some drying something cut is coming something. Coming to the genetic improvement, this slide shows that how the milk production has increased. For example, in case of crossbred, it was 4.19 kg per animal per day, which has gone up to 7.7 kg per day per animals. In buffalo, it was 3.37, which has gone up to 5.47 kg per animal per day. Similarly, in indigenous cow, a tremendous enhancement. It was only 1.29, and now it has gone to 2.93 kg per animal per day. So more than 2 times enhancement in milk production. So genetic improvement. Kindly see, someone is doing something in, on the.
Sir, please do one thing.
स्क्रीन पे कोई कुछ ऐसे ना डायग्राम बना रहा है उससे something.
Yes, sir. You will find 3 dots. Go to that dot and you will find an option.
Okay, now it is visible.
Yes, sir. Again,
Yes, sir.
somebody is creating.
Again, somebody is writing.
Somebody is writing something on the screen. Just
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think
Deliberately they are
some
doing.
child is there and he is doing something.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, please disable.
Left side you will find.
डॉक्टर आइट सर को बता दीजिए वो
Sir,
जो
please
बटन है ना ऊपर
digital
3 उनमें से उसको वो वो कर दें.
Yes, sir. I told.
Okay, friends. So what I wanted to say in the previous slide.
Childish fellows, they are doing, sir, disable it.
मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि सबसे रिक्वेस्ट कर दें कि लोग म्यूट कर दें, क्योंकि काफी आवाज मुझे बाउंस बैक हो रही है पार्टिसिपेंट्स की.
Okay, sir, sure.
I request all the
Participants are
participants.
requested kindly mute your video, please.
फिर कोई कर देगा. Some child is there. I think he is playing with someone. Okay. In this slide, I want to say that
Continue,
yes,
sir,
there
please.
was then genetic improvement through AI, either in crossbred or in buffalo or in indigenous. But as compared to other developed nations, for example, if we see Israel, USA, Canada, France, Denmark, what enhancement in genetics or what enhancement in milk production came, they say that 70% was because of the genetic improvement and 30% was because of change of the management system or change or improvement in the management system. But in India, whatever enhancement in production came, 90% largely due to improvement in the management and around 10% improvement due to improvement in the genetics. What I want to emphasize, friends, that yes, through AI there has been the genetic improvement in indigenous and crossbred in buffalo, all three, but it's still a long journey we have to travel for genetic improvement of our animal. Coming to the total frozen semen, I will come policy later on. Total frozen semen which is available in India. No doubt, the future of Indian dairy lies with bull and their semen. If we see in 2003 and 4, just 15 years before, we were producing 33.8 million doses of the frozen semen. And now in 2016 and 17, the total dose of frozen semen which were produced in the country was 115.9 million. So jump in production of the semen from 0.8 million 2003-4 to 115.9 million in 2016 and 17. Coming to the bulls under frozen semen dose production, under production of the semen, it is growing at the rate of 4.4%. 27.87 thousand semen dose per year are being produced, and we are having around 4,158 bulls. So in 2016 and 17, India is having 4,158 bulls, and per bull we are producing 27.87 thousand semen dose per year. If we see the different types of bull which we are having at present, exotic bulls, either Holstein Friesian or Jersey, it is 1,173, that is contributing 33% in the total bull number. Then crossbred of either Holstein Friesian or Jersey, 988, and then indigenous 594 and buffalo 1,403. So all four types, either it is exotic or it is a crossbred or in indigenous or in buffalo, they are contributing in the total number of the bull. In the last decade, the growth of semen, frozen semen dose production was to the tune of 10%. That is, friends, despite that we are having large number of large infrastructure, we are having more than 4,000 bulls, we are producing heavy quantity of the semen. Now see this picture that there are breedable population, but they have not calved even once. Latest picture says that in buffalo, we are having 56.48 million. So despite large number of bull, large quantity of semen production, these are the population which are breedable females, but they have never calved even once their life because of the shortage of the semen or because of non-availability of the AI. There is a gap between demand and availability of male germplasm, that is the semen. For example, today we are having total breedable cattle and buffalo population to the tune of 156 million. Out of this 156 million, 91 cattle and buffalo are in milk. If we want that 91 million should milk next year also, they will be requiring 91 multiplied by 2 doses of the semen, because we have been taught that per conception 2 insemination. Total straw label in the country is 115.9. So there is an additional requirement of frozen semen to the tune of 66.42 million. If we assume that 15% animal goes through natural mating, even then, friends, we require about 52 to 53 million additional semen doses. So that is the current state, that they require immediately 52.79 million doses of the semen. Now, these two slides are very important, most important for each and everyone to understand that where we stand and how we should proceed. Now, this is the parameter and the target which we are having, and actually what we are realizing in 2017 and 18. So what is expected and what is happening presently. For example, average ejaculates per bull per year. We are having target that 187 ejaculate we should get every bull every year, and 4 ejaculates per week with 10% deviation. That is the target. Then average frozen semen per ejaculates 200 dose we want to prepare each ejaculates, keeping in percent initial mortality that we will take into account. Then frozen semen doses we can prepare accordingly 37,400, but today we are having only 27,874 doses. Frozen semen dose per year from 4,158 bulls, we can produce 155.5 million, but we are producing 115.9 billion. So what I want to convey, that if we are producing the semen with the existing bull even, we can produce 155.5 million if we are following standard protocol, that how much ejaculate should be collected from each bull each week, each month, and how many doses should be prepared from each ejaculate. But we are producing only 115.9 million doses. To meet the gap between demand and supply, total breedable population we are having 156 million today. Target for 2021-22 today AI coverage is 30% of the breedable, so we are requiring 46.81 insemination. We are having target for 2021-22 50% of the breedable, so we will be requiring 78 million AI. Total number of AI, if we see what we did this year, 2017 and 18, that is the 75.6 million, as I showed in the earlier slides. It means 1.56 insemination per animal we did. But we are targeting that if we continue with 1.6 insemination per animal, then we will be requiring 125 AI, 125 million AI. To meet out the target, friends, I have calculated that if we go for 2 insemination per animal, then we will be requiring 156 million frozen semen dose. 1.6 insemination per animal, then we will be requiring 125 million of the semen doses. But it means that with the existing number of the bull, if we are collecting judicially semen from each and every bull as we targeted with a standard protocol, with the same number of the bull, we can meet the projected demand of the semen with 1.6 insemination per breedable population, quantity wise, but certainly quality we have to see, which I will discuss later on. So this was the main crux of the story, that number of the bulls we are sufficient, but we are collecting less semen doses, less ejaculates every year, and we are preparing less dose per ejaculates every time. If we can go with the standard protocol, then we can meet the gap between demand and availability. Status of the insemination with different species, if we see, yes, frozen semen is used globally. In cattle and buffalo, US and Denmark and Europe, they have gone even more than 80%, up to 97% in some countries. New Zealand is also using AI, but with fresh semen within 24 hours of collection. In sheep and goat, it is a limited use because of 2 reasons. In sheep, we know that there is a high amount of polyunsaturated fatty acid in sperm plasma and egg yolk coagulation enzymes in seminal plasma in goat. but still we are practicing. In goat, egg yolk coagulating enzymes are present in this minor plasma. In pigs, we found that if we go with frozen semen AI, then there is a low furrowing rate, but still we are going. Equine, we have gone to the cooled semen, which has replaced the fresh semen, but cryopreserved semen is still at the laboratory stage. Similarly, camel, mithun, yak, we are doing AI, but it is a subject of research still. Friends, now we are having three very important questions. After having this background of artificial insemination, three important questions. That is, how to increase AI coverage. We know that the potential of AI is very big for the genetic improvement. Then why it could not be possible to cover the entire breedable bovine population through AI? Second question, we know that the success rate of AI is only 30%. However, in Western countries, it goes to 70%, 75%. So how to improve the conception rate with artificial insemination? And third point, we know that AI holds good potential for genetic improvement in small ruminants and pigs. Then how to realize the full benefits of artificial insemination in these species? With these three questions, my further discussion will be that what are the factors which are limiting the AI coverage? Why it is only 29.9%? Why it is only 30 deep rural area? Deep rural villages, there are no inseminator at all. There is difficulty in timely delivery of AI services, lack of mechanism to ensure use of semen from certified semen station, very poor control over AI technician. That is the most important. When technicians go for insemination, in addition to semen, they also inseminate bacteria and viruses. They also infuse these microbes. Absence of mandatory system of animal identification and data collection. So these are the main important factors which are limiting the AI coverage, especially lack of trained technician and poor penetration in the rural area and difficulty in getting the standard semen. That is the main important limiting factors for covering the AI. Developmental priorities to increase the AI coverage, if we talk, then yes. Number one, let us increase the skilled AI technician with continuous education. And I said that since 30% are in the hand of NGOs, private agencies, and other agencies, let us bring in the net. Let us train those technicians also who are in the hands of NGOs. Then second, it is high time to have next generation AI delivery system, maybe on payment basis even. Number one, ensuring cost-effective and timely services to the farmers, that is essentially required. Maximizing the penetration in rural area, abiding the breeding policy and goals of the states, increasing interaction between inseminator and institute, semen station, veterinary universities like yours, then certificate semen production center, that is the need of the day. And very small, but still, if we made online payment of purchase of the semen, that will give the transparency and it will give a tracking, a tracing of the semen from where it has been purchased. So that is one important issue which development department should take on the priority. Then second issue is that the factors limiting success of the artificial insemination. Earlier it was how we can increase the rate of AI, and here it is how we can increase the success of AI. Most important is proper stress detection. If we are not detecting the stress properly at right time, then there is insufficiency in time for insemination. When we talk about timed insemination or synchronized heat, synchronized insemination, then certainly, friends, it involves high cost, which farmer cannot afford. Then limitation in fertility ensured are certified frozen semen dose. We don't get certified frozen semen dose. Farmers, they don't get certified frozen semen dose. That is one of the reasons that we are getting poor quality of the semen. Certainly, we are having less number of quality fertile bulls. Frozen semen quality is another very important issue. We are using traditional method for semen evaluation. We have to change. Then we don't have any enhancement. We don't have any follow-up post-insemination fertility enhancement. We never do anything. That we have to do. In addition to that, embryonic mortality and then female factors like uterine infection, hormonal imbalance, early diagnosis, pregnancy, these are the factors which also increase the chances of less fertility during insemination. When we talk about the poor stress detection, I tell you that it is not locally, it is a globally. Number one, small, we know that our 80% farmers are small farmers. They cannot go for automation. They have to detect the AI, means not by automation, but through visual observation. But globally, we see there has been the difference. Stress expression is coming down. I have compared from 1960 to 2010. In 1960s, 85% cows were showing standing to be mounted. This is the most important symptoms when cow come in the heat. Then stand for mounting. 85% cow were showing. But now in 2010, it has reduced to less than 50%. The duration of stress was very long, 15 hours, but now it has reduced to 5 hours. Ovulation was having a very small window, 10 to 12 hours. So there was good chance for fertilization. But now ovulation is having a very wide window, 5 to 26 hours after the end of the stress. Conception rate was more than 70%, but now it has reduced to more than 50%, has gone average, if you see, to 30%. So we can say that life reproductive efficiency is decreasing globally. If we see the example of US and Denmark, the lifetime reproductive efficiency is only 2.4 lactation. And there is increasing trend in infertility in livestock globally. With these facts, friends, there is a problem, number one, that proper stress detection and proper stress insemination. Second point, what are the problems enhancing the success rate of the infertility? Problem in selection of the breeding bulls. Now, this is the procedure by which we select a breeding bulls. We rear the calf for 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. We collect the semen weight, the semen production ability of a bull, and then say that this is inferior quality of the bull, this is superior quality of the bull. To know the fertility test, again, we wait for years. After production of the sufficient dose of the semen, we supply to the field condition her fertility test. After insemination, again, we wait for a year, and then we say that, yes, this bull is above average, and this bull is average, and this bull is below average. So if I conclude, then I can say that the success rate of current method of breeding soundness evaluation is around 27% only. And the success rate of selection of the bull is 7%, 7.02%. So if we take 100 bulls at the initial stage, then it comes to the tune of 7 bulls, which will be used for semen collection, and they will be used for the breeding purposes. So there is a problem in current method of selection of the breeding bulls that we have to look. Then come to the selection of the high fertile males, good quality of the males. Selection of the males at young age for high genetic merit with high fertility is need of the hour. That is our dream, that we identify the calf at calfhood level, that this calf will prove a good bull after attaining the maturity. If this happens, then all problems of shortage of the semen, of poor success rate of the recovery will be solved, because this theoretically, if we see, each gram of testicular material will produce 15 million spermatozoa, each gram. And well-managed bull ejaculate 30 to 40 billion spermatozoa each week. 32 billion. For each intrauterine insemination, we require 4 to 5 million. And for vaginal insemination, we may require double, 10 million, up to 10 million. Or if we are following the present practice, maybe 20 million. What I want to say that in this way, a bull can calf 50,000 per year. From a bull, we can get 50,000 calf per year theoretically. So if we can dream that this calf will prove a good bull, so there will be no shortage of the problem. In addition to that, some issues which we want to address: use of conventional semen extender and freezing, traditional method of semen evaluation. That is the most important point. We have to look, friends, that what could be the best alternate methods to evaluate the semen. I will come later on. Still, we are continuing 20 million spermatozoa per insemination dose. As I said in the morning, as I said earlier, that in the morning also I delivered Dr. Burgess Korean medical lecture, and I got a lot of feedback that say that, sir, we are working to reduce the number of sperm per dose which we are using for insemination from 20 million. If we can reduce even to 10 million or 5 million, I think we can make a big dent in dairy production or in livestock production and reproduction. Next point comes, are we assessing all the qualities which are important, which are required for the semen? For example, semen function, what we need to assess the no fertility, to know the fertility. What sperm has to do after insemination? There are 4 steps which sperm has to perform after insemination. First, sperm should have the ability to travel through different barriers and to reach at the site of fertilization. For that, mass activity, motility, viability, we have to study. Then second action, it has to ability to bind with oviductal epithelium, for which we have to know the intact plasma membrane, high matrix metalloproteinase, that we call as MMP, incapacitated status, protein tyrosine phosphorylation. Third function, sperm has to perform ability to interact with oocytes and penetrate to fertilize it. And for that, we have to know the status of intact plasma membrane, ecosome reaction, tyrosine phosphorylation, etc. So these are the 3 important. And then last one, post-fertilization contribution by spermatozoa to the oocyte for embryonic development. That is the DNA quality of the sperm. So let us see honestly that do we assess all of them? If not, then how we can assess that this semen, this sperm will fertilize and DNA quality of the offspring will be good, of the embryo will be good. So friends, that we have to see that what parameters we are assessing today, and in future what parameter we must assess to know fertility index. Bull fertility test, if we see, yes, the desire of having a high accurate bull fertility prediction tool is still continue to remain as a dream for us. And we also know that the old saying that bull is half of the herd does not stand true today, because now it has been established that male contribute 64% and female contributes 36% genetics in the offspring. So what could be an alternate till we identify the universal bull fertility marker? This is the only alternate that we should have stringent quality control over the frozen semen doses that are being produced at semen station. This is the only alternative which we have, friends. What are the parameters which can give some indication that this semen is high fertile or low fertile? These are the 6 parameters which I'm listing. They are an indicator to give little bit that this is a high fertile semen, this is low fertile semen. That is the protamine deficiency, intact membrane percentage, capacitated, then apostosis, membrane scrambling, lipid peroxidation. Normally 70% spermatozoa at least in fresh semen should be motile. Another important point is that now we know that fertility associated sperm protein, it has been identified and we found that it is useful for fertility prediction of the bull. I will come that when we give some recommendation to the government, this is one of the important recommendations. Friends, let us also accept it that male fertility is not always because of the bad spermatozoa, but also because of the bad Sertoli cell and Leydig cell, which are in close association with the seminiferous tubules. We know that Sertoli cells are also called as nursing cell. They secrete very important proteins which helps in spermatogenesis and sperm quality. Similarly, Leydig cell produces testosterone which is very important for spermatogenesis, and this testosterone is being produced in response to the LH. We also know the role of prolactin, which facilitate the interaction between luteinizing hormone and Leydig cell. So they are also important. Leydig cell and Sertoli cell are very, very much important. Sertoli cells then convert testosterone into estrogen and dihydroestrogen. And I'm not going to say that what is the importance of estrogen and dihydroestrogen in male. That is very well known. What has been concluded that more number of Sertoli and Leydig cell per spermatogenic cell means higher in semen production ability and good in fertility. So if Sertoli cell is good number, Leydig cell is good in number, certainly they will produce good quantity and good quality of spermatozoa. In some cases, we have established that main infertility is not because of bad spermatozoa, but because of bad support which is being provided by Sertoli cell or in Leydig cell. In case of microbiota, as we know that there is a direct link, direct talk between brain and gut microbiota, it has been established. Similarly, friends, the development of the germ cell into sperm depend on their dialogues with Sertoli cell through specific cell-cell interaction. There are indications, and we have to study in this way. Then understanding the semen and sperm biology, that is also important to know a good fertility. There are three questions. Why a proportion of spermatozoa in a given ejaculates are cryosusceptible while the rest of the cryotolerant? For that, we have to understand the semen phenotype characteristics and molecular composition of these two subpopulations of the spermatozoa. If we study, then we can get some lead. Second question, how far can we modulate sperm function to retain their fertility potential after freezing and thawing? Understanding the responsiveness of spermatozoa to extender and freezing might help us. Third one, how to enrich desirable sperm, how to enrich the number of desirable sperm population, how to increase the number of desirable sperm population given frozen dose. We all know now that it is not select the oocyte or ovum, it is the oocyte or ovum which select the sperm. Oocyte says that yes, I will be fertilized with this sperm, not sperm will select the oocyte. For that, understanding of the sperm oviduct and sperm oocyte dialogue is essential. Why some bulls constantly produce good quality semen with high fertility potential? To know that, understanding the testicular physiology may help. Friends, we all know that two bulls will never produce the same quality of the semen. Two ejaculates of one bull will never produce the same quality of the semen. Two doses of the same ejaculate may not perform the same. With these 3 points, I will come to the last 2-3 slides. That recently some development, at the ministerial level, at the policymaker levels has been taken place. For example, we always appreciate our DA. A future roadmap. AI has been targeted to increase from 30% to 70%, and for that additional fund has also been given by Ministry of Finance. You can see that in 2018 and 19 budget, this was the estimated 2,932 crores, and then revised was 2,790, and in 2020 and 21 it was 3,289 crores. And then second, Government of India DHDF has taken a step to increase the AI coverage. Government of India has launched a nationwide AI in 600 districts, covering 100 villages per district and 200 bovine per village, and it will account about 1.2 crores animal that has been proposed to be covered under AI. Not only that, 3,000 high genetic merit bulls of indigenous breeds will be produced through ETT or IVF technology to meet the shortage. No doubt, government is promoting sex short semen and under Rashtriya Gokul Mission, and for that already 12 A grade stations, semen producing station has been identified. What I was saying that today we are covering 30% AI, 30% of the breedable population under AI. What calculation I had shown for 50% target, which we are having for 2020 and 21. This is if we want to go for 70% coverage under AI, then certainly we will be requiring more bull, and that Government of India has planned. Last slide, friends, as you know that a high-level committee was constituted by scientific advisor of Government of India, and I was one of the member of the livestock, which was chaired by Dr. R.S. Paroda. Few recommendations were given to the Government of India. Two recommendations which I will present, which relates to the today's presentation, and I'm sure that it will be implemented. People have started taking, government has started taking initiative on this one. One recommendation is increasing conception rate through fertility ensured frozen semen. How we can increase the conception rate from 30%, 35% to the higher level. And for that, use of flow cytometer in semen analysis is essentially required. We found that use of flow cytometer successfully differentiate high from low fertile sperm. So fertility ensured and predicted semen will lead high conception rate. If it will lead high conception rate, then we will get more calf per animal in their lifetime. So this is the first recommendation, and for that action plan, what action has to be taken, by whom, and how much time it will take. What recommendation has been made that make provision of flow cytometer for rapid and accurate analysis for sperm function at semen station. I have also given that one flow cytometer will cost around 50 lakhs. Not only cytometer, then we have to train manpower for using the flow cytometer application, and that will cost around 1 lakh for training for per person. So 6 lakhs for one station been recommended. By whom it is to be implemented? Certainly our honorable ministers, our ministry of animal husbandry, dairying and fishery, NDDB, ICR, NDRI and veterinary university, and it will take around 2 to 3 years. Second recommendation was that promoting controlled breeding programs and assisted reproductive techniques, ART. We know, friends, that incidences of repeat breeding, anestrus, endometritis, and other diseases are very high. Around 30 to 40% of our livestock population is suffering with repeat breeding and anestrus problem. These two problems are covering 30 to 40% of our total livestock population. So controlled breeding protocol and assisted reproductive technology, it will restore the fertility in poor reproductive performing animal, and more calf will be produced. What has to be done? Means I'm not talking about theoretically, but we know that the technology has been developed. Sufficient number of trained manpower are there, but major constraint we are facing the cost involved in ART, and the major cost is of the hormone. So that's why a very important recommendation is that make sufficient availability of controlled internal drug release devices and hormone at affordable cost. For that, we may develop recombinant hormone to assure safety and to get the improved response. Make provision of indigenous production of hormone, maybe GnRH, FSH, LH, and prostaglandins to cut down the cost. Provide sufficient availability of trained manpower and training facility of ART. Certainly, Ministry, ICR, National Institutes, State Agriculture Universities, and Indian pharma industry, they are to be involved. It will take 5 to 6 hours. After this recommendation, I am happy to say that some pharma industry, they have already contacted. They contacted and they say that if you come in this way, then certainly they will go for means manufacturing of indigenous manufacturing of the hormone, indigenous synthesis of the hormone, maybe a prostaglandin hormone, or maybe GnRH or FSH and LS. So these are the friends importance, historical background of the AI, how it developed, how it helped in enhancement of the production and productivity of the livestock, how the milk production has increased because of the AI, what are the constraints we are facing, and what are our future roadmap, how we can go ahead if our dream is to cover 70% of the breedable population under AI and to enhance the AI success rate from 30% to 50%. With these presentation, if we see the last slides, these are the points where we should ponder. I will request Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Tiwari and his team that kindly discuss this point, that how we can tackle, how we can handle these points. Issue with expanding AI coverage, I have already explained that these are the main issues and the way it should be handled. Ability of bull calves for timely replacement. This I know that if a farmer wants to replace its farm with bull, then we don't have calf even. Regulation of upcoming private semen stations. That is urgently required. How to regulate the private semen stations. Then traceability and tracking of frozen semen doses is most important to generate the data which is reliable. One very small suggestion I gave, that online payment for purchase of the semen dose may be very small, but it will give authenticity. It will help us in traceability of the semen. Then policy for regulation of use of the sex semen. I always say that yes, we must use sex semen. We should be prepared to use the sex semen. Today, to use the sex semen, our technicians are trained enough for intrauterine insemination? Are we ready to spend so much money for timed insemination? All these issues which are prerequisites for using the sex semen, that has to be seen, and we have to prepare ourselves. State-of-the-art semen analysis center. Might be that we are having 1 lakh AI center, around 1 lakh AI centers, but we have to go for semen analysis center, which is state of the art, where we can use all the parameters to analyze the semen sperm quality, which has been discussed previously. Then there should be a continuous training to inseminator. And last one is sperm concentration reduction per dose for AI. Friends, now time has come. When there is a shortage of semen, when there is a shortage of bull, when our target is to cover 70 to 80% of our breedable population, we have to do research that really we require 20 million of the doses for one dose, 20 million of sperm per dose for insemination. That we have to see, that really we require 20 million of sperm per dose for insemination. If we can reduce even few millions, I think we can serve the nation in a good way. Then to understand the semen biology, also most important. If we are understanding the semen biology, that what is the biology of the semen, certainly we can make a dent in enhancing the fertility of the young. With these words, once again, I thank Vice Chancellor Dr. Tiwari. I thank Secretary, Association of Mastitis, Dr. Nilesh, Dean, Director, and each and every participant who participated in this discussion. Thank you very much for your patience hearing. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you. I thank my all senior colleagues who joined me in the morning session also and in this session also. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Tiwari or Dr. Mehta, you can.
हेलो
आप लोग मुझे लगा के चले तो नहीं गए भाई साहब?
नहीं सब यहीं पर बैठे हैं।
हेलो हेलो सर मैं
हेलो
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
चले तो नहीं गए भाई साहब?
Yes, sir. I am there, sir.
Sir, please take.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta.
Sir, hello.
Is there any questions which have to be answered or we should conclude it?
Sir, there are few questions. Can we take a 5 to 10 minutes, sir?
We can take. If I can reply, it will be my pleasure. Yeah.
Yes, sir. One of the question is, what are the roadmap of Government of India to reduce the cost of sex straw so that technology reach to farmers? Roadmap of Government of India to reduce the cost of sex straw.
I know, the government of India is already in talks with the American company for providing the machine. If the machine and if the machine comes in our country, then certainly the cost of sex semen will be reduced. So government of India is working in this direction that today cost is very high and it has to be reduced.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more question is that why, in spite of all these efforts, right from what last 3 to 4 to 5 decades, the AI has not been so successful in this country.
That was the theme of our presentation, my presentation, that AI coverage is very poor because in the villages there are no inseminators. Farmers are not able to judge the exact timing of the stress. That is, the coverage is poor. Because of this reason, coverage is poor. As far as success rate of AI is poor is concerned, as I said in all my presentation, that there are poor assessment of sperm or semen quality. We are not assessing the good quality of the semen. That is the main reason. Time of insemination is not proper. If time of insemination is not proper, we can't expect the fertility. As I said, that globally also, the window of total stress cycle has reduced. The time span of ovulation has widened. The window has widened. So all these issues are responsible for less success rate of the AI.
Yes, sir. Sir, a very relevant question related to the COVID. That how can we compensate the loss of production of frozen semen doses and AI during lockdown period? What is future strategy which we should adopt after this lockdown is over and the country resumes to its normalcy?
No, exactly data I do not know that during this period, 2 months, 2.5 months, how much reduction in semen collection or semen production has come. I do not. I think no data has been seen till time. Let us see that if we have exact data, that what is the loss during these 2 months for the semen collection. Certainly we can prepare our plan. But as far as I'm concerned, the institution which I know, the semen collection was continued during this period even, but certainly not in all semen collection center. So first let us generate the data. Let us see that how much loss we have occurred, and then we will make the plan.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think the last question we should take. Besides the cost, are there any other problems associated with the sex-sorted semen? Besides cost?
Yes, cost is one aspect, and second, there are 2-3 points. The success rate of sex semen, what is in publication, what they show, what has been published. This data is from Heifer, number one. So we should not expect